Today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners, who for more than 25 years have successfully delivered interim and permanent leadership talent to transform businesses. To hire the talent you need to enable your business to thrive, visit www.progressotalent.com today. Hi listeners, welcome to another episode of Extrology, where we delve into the science of the extraordinary and uncover those stories that inspire us, connect us, and show us the endless possibilities that are available to us all when we follow our dreams. Today, I'm excited to introduce a remarkable guest, Ivan Lebeau, whose journey in the technology and entertainment industries spans over 25 years. Ivan is the founder of Gamestream, a company that has quickly risen to become the leader in the cloud gaming sector, offering innovative solutions to various industries worldwide. Ivan's story is one of vision, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. From launching successful tech solutions to founding and leading multiple ventures, Ivan has consistently demonstrated the power of strategic thinking and innovation. Under his leadership, Gamestream now serves nearly 500,000 subscribers and recently partnered with Geo Games, potentially reaching an additional 1.4 billion users in India and beyond. Today, we'll explore Ivan's life lessons, the motivations behind his career choices, and how he has navigated the challenges to achieve his success. Join us as we dive into an inspiring conversation about dreams, determination, and the universal principles that drive extraordinary achievements. Stay tuned for insights that go beyond any one industry and resonate with anyone striving to realise their own dreams. So what's the story behind the story? Without further ado, let's get into it. Ivan Lebeau, welcome to Extrology. Great to have you here as my guest. I trust you've had a great start to your day.
Yes, I'm very happy to speak with you today. Thank you for this interview.
Well, without further ado, it's great to have you on. I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this. And I think, as is customary with Extrology, it's always nice to start for context, to give listeners a bit of an understanding of your background. And I wonder if you might start, therefore, by sharing where your interest in gaming first began and what drew you specifically towards cloud gaming.
Yeah, well, so I grew up in the north of France, in an area where reality was very, very present. And in the 90s, reality was very heavy still. And the place for dreaming was there, thanks to music and movies. But video games just provided another way to dream about a better life, to dream about what you could be in another world, to discover new worlds, and to meet new people as well. And so it was very interesting to be part of this fantastic growth of video games since the 90s, and to see how little by little some virtual worlds could enlighten and maybe improve our real existence by providing other perspectives to people. And I studied my histories in political sciences and then in art history. And in art and art history, you learn first that art is always a reflect of its period. And so I was very interested in contemporary art and then in video art, and from that I jumped into these video games opportunities that were brought to me because I could be part of this new adventure, which is not only a personal adventure, but that's, I would say, a humankind adventure. This is the first time that so many people can play together in virtual worlds and maybe reach the sky as they could never do before.
That's a really interesting. I guess two questions spring to mind, but particularly around that background in art to which you refer. Do you recall what first triggered your interest in art, and therefore what were the circumstances?
But well, I was a specialist in African arts, medieval arts, and symbolic.
Where did that come from? Where had that originated from?
Oh, to be honest, it all started with faith. My faith in God, and my faith in humankind, and so my interest in all this so-called primitive arts like African arts, and all this symbolic aspect was just an interest in, all this. What is the human people interested in, and I really believe that human people are interested not only in feeding themselves and making money. They're interested in trying to have a better existence, but to have a better understanding and about why they are here, and what they can achieve. And video games can provide many people some very serious skills to maybe get better in real life as well. So many people are getting more confidence on themselves because of gaming. Little boys used to play with a wooden sword in the past days, and today they can fight thanks to a screen. But this is the same move, the same behavior. I don't think that so many things are changing in life for centuries. I just believe that only the approach is technologically different, but video games is just another way to do what people like to do for centuries, improving themselves in fighting, meeting new people, etc.
Do you remember the first video game you played? And if so, what was it?
Space Invaders.
Right, yeah.
I mean, Pong. Like many people of my generation, it was Pong. The first game I played was Pong, and yeah, it was nice, but it was still a little, white dot on the screen. But Space Invaders, with the sound and with all this very good level design, was the game I was playing during the holidays. I could spend hours on that. Yes.
I think that's fascinating. You and I, we've had this discussion previously that perhaps we're of a similar age, but yeah, similarly for me, I was just thinking as you were talking about that early background in gaming, what were some of the games that sprung to mind that I would have had as a kid? And Space Invaders and Defender, I think, was another one that was, you had this kind of sense of wonder and awe from the technology, which would be really primitive were people to see it today, but actually it just gave you a sense of opportunity, what is out there, of opportunity, of something great. It was always the fantasy element to it. You could just disappear into your thoughts and get so intently engrossed in the game. It was just, wonderful, wonderful experiences a long time ago for me now, but wonderful experiences. And I think it's really interesting. How do you think that your background in art history, how do you think that's impacted you creatively?
Oh, a lot, because first, I always believe. I mean, I love the idea that every culture, every kind of people is having its own perception about life, about God, about the future, about everything, and every culture is important. That's key. And so art history is learning you that there is this fantastic mix of cultures since always. What the French brought to the British, and what the British brought to the French is a small but big part of that. But all the exchange we had with Asia and Africa, and this Oriental fashion in the 18th century in France, that you can see when you're visiting Versailles, for example. So it always has been a fantastic, flow of ideas between cultures all over the world. And I believe it's very important for every human to understand his roots and to understand the opportunities he can get with mixing ideas and with the other people and other cultures. And video games is, on my point of view, on the middle of that. it is very difficult, to develop and to publish a video game with a real international potential, especially when you try to make something with music or something with humor. Humor is the most difficult skill to develop in video games, because humor is British, of course. That's a British idea, British concept. But humor is not easy to deploy on a worldwide perspective.
So before you founded Gamestream, you'd various senior roles in the industry, the likes of Voxler, at Gamefly Streaming. Can you perhaps share with us how those experiences prepared you for launching your own company?
But so I started as a game designer, but before the word game designer did exist, so we called that scénariste in French, writing the scenario of the games. And I was interested in these intellectual challenges we just discussed. How can you create and provide a game design for a worldwide potential population? Okay, and that's very interesting. And then from a creative officer, I became a production manager, because I was interested in how can we make that happen for real and in the right budget. So I was into the production aspects. And then I started to work with Voxler, with a fantastic opportunity to create some karaoke games, music games. It was a lot about licensing music with the three big music majors, and it was always a fantastic opportunity to see the perception of music through the various populations. With a mix of international music and local music, and it's very interesting to do that. And then I realized that streaming became and was just becoming the main way. So I understand that streaming was the best way to access video and music in this time, in the early 2010. And I understood that video games were the next media to access the streaming, the streaming things. And then I became very interested in these first startups that were providing some cloud gaming experiences. And I became closer to an Israeli company called Playcast. It was a pioneer in cloud gaming. It was in 2010. And I started to propose their service to a few telecom groups in Europe. And they were very interested. And so we started some cloud gaming services in 2012 in France, and then in Portugal and Switzerland. And this company was acquired by an American company in 2015 called Gamefly, and then it was sold to Electronic Arts, so it became the EA streaming solution. And just at this time, I decided to form my own company, trying to improve what I could learn in the past years, and to do better than what my old friends were providing.
Had you always had that sense of entrepreneurship? Was it always something that you felt in the background was nagging at you or influencing you, that one day that would be the objective?
Not really. When I was a student, I was more thinking about having parties and not taking too much responsibilities like many students. And then I had two kids, and it became important to have a better control about my future revenues. And then I realized that if I could get more involved into delivering the solutions I was working on, it could improve its success maybe. And then I switched from, I would say, a creative profile to a more financial profile, just because I wanted these ideas to become real. And I believe in life you always try to get the place where you can get the most efficient, exactly like you did when you switch from your previous career to your new career. And so I think this is my place today, and this is what I can do the best.
How easy It's interesting that, to your point, that switch from creative to financial, accepting that there's clearly a creative element to it, nonetheless still, but for want of a better expression, how easy was it to make that switch? Because there's an interesting dynamic there, simplistically, sort of left brain, right brain, that we're all constantly sort of wrestling with and have greater influence one over the other. How easy was it to make that switch from creative to financial?
Actually, I believe it's just a muscle in your brain, and you have a creative muscle, and you can entertain it or not, and then you can be creative using Word as a software to write universe, and or Photoshop, or you can use Excel as well. On Excel, believe me, I can be very creative.
So Gamestream has very quickly established itself as a worldwide leader in B2B cloud gaming. So what were your initial goals, and how perhaps have they evolved?
So the first goal was to create a team, and the best team with the best management, and this goal is achieved upon my expectations. And today we have a fantastic management. We have huge people about marketing, communication, licensing, development, R&D, and it was the first big objective. And a second one, the business objective, was to become the leader in B2B, addressing our solution to telecom groups and hospitality groups. And this objective has been completed as well. So we are very happy with that. And the third one, which is maybe the most important, is to provide the public, gamers and families and casual gamers, hardcore gamers, with the best solution and a new solution to play video games, in order to democratize video games, especially in emerging countries. And this objective is on its way. It's a never-end objective, and we always have to work more and again to improve our solution and to provide better content. And I would say not only a better content, but an adapted content to our public. Look, we are present today in Indonesia, in Middle East, and in Eastern Europe, in France, and in India, where we are launching the first cloud gaming service in India, which is huge. We are targeting the all 1.4 billion people in India with our partner Jayo Reliance, and we are just about to launch a service in Africa as well. And in all those various countries, of course, we have to manage our business model and our content in order to fill with the expectations of the public. And that's a very big challenge, very interesting challenge. So on the content aspect, we are also dealing with some local developers to provide some local games. And we are adapting to the local, I would say, the local public as well, which is more mature in Southeast Asia, sorry. And we are more targeting kids and teenagers in Europe, for example. But we don't have the same economic models as well. In Africa, we are about to launch a service where users can not only subscribe on a monthly basis, but they will also be able to subscribe on a weekly and a daily basis, which is a very new challenge for us in terms of making the solution profitable, because we have to engage on servers, and we have to engage on content, and we have to engage on marketing aspects with our partners. So that's very new and very interesting as well.
If you go back to the early days of Gamestream, what were some of the major challenges that you faced whilst establishing the business, and how perhaps did you overcome them?
Oh, the biggest challenge was the COVID, of course.
Right.
Because during the COVID period, we did not know if it would end after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. And we didn't have the same COVID period in all the countries where we are deployed, meaning that we could not send an engineer in other countries during 2 years. So we had to maintain and we had to develop our services in many countries where we could send nobody, because remember, you had no flights, you had no planes to go in Indonesia or in Middle East or whatever. And during this period, we had to hire a lot of people as well, and it was difficult to hire new talents that could not meet with the rest of the team, and they had to work remotely, and honestly, setting up a company culture with people that you never meet and that are only working with you remotely, it was very challenging for me, especially in my case because I love human contacts, and I had to learn how to have another style of management with managing the people remotely.
That's a really interesting point. I'm really interested to understand how, therefore, you evolved your management style, perhaps how it impacted your management style in order that you could continue to develop the kind of culture you were keen to develop. You also ensured that kind of social interaction, which clearly is important to you. But how do you feel your management style evolved as a consequence?
When we started, we were just like two people, then three and four, then 10, then 15, 20. One day we wake up, we were 30, and then 50 people working together. So, and it went very fast. And so, yes, I had to adapt my management style, definitely. When we started, I was very interested in every detail, and it was difficult to delegate. And then by chance I could hire the top management I just mentioned, and thanks to that I was very happy to delegate some part of the management to other people, and they are very, very good. So it went naturally by the trust, the trust with the management.
I think it's really interesting if I reflect back on my own experiences of working with entrepreneurs. I think just about everyone that I've met certainly understands, at least intellectually, that in order that they might scale their business to realize their goals, they're going to have to to your point, they're going to have to introduce other leaders into the business with different skills, different capabilities, different strengths. And that blend of strengths they're going to accelerate their success. No guarantee, of course, but they'll accelerate far quicker, realize a far bigger aim, far bigger objective if they allow that to happen. One of the bigger challenges I've seen over the years is emotionally allowing that to happen is a very different challenge to understanding intellectually it's the right thing to do. And you don't need my endorsement as to your choices, but all credit you. You had the wherewithal to see, actually, if I start to share this out, if I start to embrace other capability, other expertise, other talent, we could probably move a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot further. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have to learn that you need to keep, you can't control everything, and that you need to let it go, and to let other people decide for even top questions, because they are just better than you are, and that they are more focused on these topics.
No, I think was it Steve Jobs who said that he didn't see the point in hiring fabulously talented people and telling them what to do. And I think that's it's absolutely the approach, isn't it? You bring these people in, you give them their room. From a strategic perspective, Gamestream is expanding. You alluded to this in particularly in emerging markets, and I know that you'd a recent launch with, is it Geo Games? Is that how I would pronounce it? Geo Games in India?
Yeah, exactly. Geo Games, absolutely.
Yeah, Geo Games. In terms of opportunities that you see, you alluded to some of this. What sort of opportunities are you seeing in expanding into not only such enormous markets as India, but some of the other emerging markets, which equally, from certainly at least from a population perspective, you've got huge swathes of opportunity, huge numbers of people with whom you could engage. What sort of opportunities are you seeing?
But first of all, Geo Games found the opportunity, and they were the one digging on this opportunity, and then they tried to select the best cloud gaming technology and technology experience, and they selected Gamestream. So we went into this trend, but GeoGames started all of that. So to summarize, GeoGames is part of Geo Reliance, the biggest industrial group in India. It belongs to Mukesh Ambani, number 7 on the Forbes list of the richest men on Earth. This company is disruptive, huge, and Mukesh Ambani is called the king of Mumbai. And they realized that in India, the video game market was very small today, but more than 80% of the population was looking for a way to play video games. So they realized that most of the people cannot purchase a console or a PC at a very expensive price. So they understood that due to the quality of the networks they have put in place during the last 12 years, they understood that they had the quality of the network required to provide a great cloud gaming solution. And they've been looking for the best solution. They spent 1 year testing every solution from all our competitors, including the big American companies you have in mind. And at the end of the day, they decided to go with Gamestream. We didn't provide the cheapest solution. No, maybe we were the more expensive solution on the integration aspect. But they realized that we could provide them exactly what they were looking for in order to get their objective achieved, which is to get around, like 500,000 subscribers by a few years. And we've been seeing that as a fantastic opportunity for us to provide this kind of service on this huge market, which is India. And we discussed with all our publishers, all the international video game publishers, and realized that all of them were in and agreed to follow us on this new market, because they all see India as a new fantastic opportunity. Sometimes they say the new China in one way, where everything has to be done. Everything is new there in the video games industry. And so today, I believe that more than 50% of my team is working on this fantastic project.
Do you know, one of the things that struck me when we were speaking earlier, I'm coming back to this art history and management from Paris Sorbonne that you study, but when you started to talk of your faith and your interest in this kind of more existential question around why are we here? What is this all for? The thing that struck me is that you have this almost, it would appear inherent within you, this ability to think big from, I think it was Lille, if I remember rightly, where you...
Lille, in the north of France, yes.
Lille, yes. And a real sense of the enormity of the planet, and there's the enormity of the humanity that exists here and the opportunity it presents. You don't strike me as someone who thinks small. You're thinking big. Was that the objective from the outset? Was there a kind of big picture vision for Gamestream? Because certainly it would appear you're very much realizing that.
No, thank you for the compliment. But the idea is to think big, but I would say the idea is to think better than big. In the way that when you start a new company with a disruptive technology, and when you're pushing the publishers to switch for them from the classic business model to a new business model, you need to choose your battles, right? And I have seen that into music. In music, music majors were very, very reluctant to provide their titles to the first streaming companies like Napster. Napster was a great company. All started with Napster, in fact. In the music streaming industry, and then these music majors today, they just love this streaming, industry, and the values are bigger than ever. So the question to get the biggest video games titles, the question to get the biggest hits, is how can we convince the top publishers to provide their hits? Can I do that if I launch my cloud gaming service in France? They are already making very big revenues on console and PC. So why would they provide me the titles for this territory? So what if we launch that in emerging countries, and it works this way? So the idea was not exactly to think big. It was to provide the best titles, the best content to everybody, and it was easier for us to convince the publishers, starting with emerging countries, where we are definitely a fantastic, alternative to classic way to play video games.
So it's that critical thinking that has given you that edge, do you feel?
Is it my critical thinking? What do you mean by critical thinking?
That ability to really analyze, to your point. So it strikes me that you've got this big picture perspective, but that you're able to drill right down to really analyze critically the key issue that you're trying to address, and therefore the key opportunity that presents. You can drill that right down.
But I had the opportunity to work in cloud gaming during 4 years, working for another company. And my advice to every entrepreneur is always to work in the industry where you want to set up your company before you set up this company, because of course you're getting more experience. So I could study that during 4 years working for another company, and honestly, it was not difficult to see that everything is about content. I mean, if tomorrow we can provide FIFA and Call of Duty, it's very easy to be successful for us. So the question is, how can we get those titles? So that the main point is accessing the right content. So it was not so complex to discover.
So Gamestream offers a multi-device streaming experience that, amongst many things, is what sets it apart. How do you maintain such a high quality of service across different platforms?
So we made some choice when we started the company, and one choice was to have a streaming technology where we are streaming all the flows from local servers directly to any kind of platform. So I used to say that if you've got a screen on your fridge, you can play or streaming service on your fridge using the screen. We don't rely on the CPU that your screen or your device are providing. We are just displaying the pictures. So since we have these software clients able to get the flows of pictures, which are not so complex to develop, and since we have this stream, this flow of pictures that we can send on any kind of screens, it's not so difficult to maintain everything and to get everything work. And by the way, we never had any service interruption anywhere. It always have been working everywhere. So we have this architecture of servers together, which is exactly the same in every country. And we are using some servers that we did design by ourselves, because designing those servers are the only way to make a profitable service. Because we could find some solutions in order to get a very high number of sessions in parallel on every server.
So where do you see the future of cloud gaming heading?
On the geographical aspect, I believe that we are exactly in the countries where it's going to explode, like Southeast Asia, and I believe in Africa that may be a feature as well, because there is a huge demand for this kind of services. In order to reach the public expectations, we need to provide much more AAA titles, even with a new economic model. And that's what we are working on today. It's called buy-in-stream. And that's a new kind of service where they will be able to play huge AAA titles just at their release date or a few days later. And that's something that everybody is expecting. I also believe that for certain services we are providing, parental control and all the environment, educational, aspect is very important. Like today, we are discussing with a large company in South America, and they are very sensitive to educational aspect, for example. But it will be the same for India. So we need to be able to mix various kind of experiences on the same service and using the same technology and keeping that profitable.
Do you get a sense, certainly I do, that actually gaming in education, there's an enormous opportunity there in terms of how we can use gaming to inform and educate people coming through through schooling, whatever it may be, alongside traditional methods of education. But there's a real opportunity, because I think the things that strike that gaming has always been a part of learning, right? Is my sense,
Sure.
and actually that creates an enormous opportunity too.
Yeah, it always has been a very huge opportunity. And when I was a game designer, I enjoyed to get to design a lot of educational games. I love that. Not only for, I would say, classic kids, but it's very inclusive as well. And so if you have some kids with some disease, video games can really help them to to get to achieve and to get some other levels of education. The situation is not the same in every countries. I would say in emergent countries, kids are really looking for opportunities to improve their education, and so you can provide services where they can improve their language skills or mathematics and whatever, and pushing those titles can is a huge opportunity for them to learn more. On the other hand, if you see European countries, in European countries, we used to have a part of the video games market with educational games. It was in the 90s and in the early 2000s. But all those companies had to stop providing educational games because parents love the idea, but kids don't like playing educational games so much. So little by little, they stopped purchasing those titles, and today this market is dead.
Really, that's really interesting.
Yeah, because everybody loved the idea to get more educated, but nobody wants to spend time to educate himself. So today in European countries, I think we are looking for a very fast way to get some education, or maybe to TikTok this culture, and the real education is taking more time. So everything has to be reformed on this aspect, and I don't have the key for that in European countries. So we will focus our efforts about education in emerging countries where we know that there is a real will to get more educated.
Goodness, that's a fascinating insight into the. I hate to make this. It seems a very lazy turn of phrase to make a distinction between developed and developing, but nonetheless, I think that's a sad indictment. If that's the experience, that actually what we want from a perhaps a European perspective is this immediate kind of fix around how we educate ourselves without investing the time and understanding the time required to truly learn, and that we've kind of, to your point, that sort of TikTokified that immediate sense of, can I get it now? Can I get it now? And actually, the truth is, everything takes time. You go back to Malcolm Gladwell and his 10,000 hours, right? True education, true learning takes time. And the reason I asked the question around education and gaming is that, although we reflected on Space Invaders as perhaps yours and my first early experiences of gaming, but that actually there are so many ways, the learning that over time playing games has afforded us, whether that's in the traditional sense of playing games or whether that's on a device.
Absolutely. Have you been playing the Assassin's Creed series of video
No,
games
I
from
haven't.
Ubisoft?
I haven't. I'm not a gamer. I must admit, that part of my life has passed me by. It's a long time ago now, but no, I haven't played Assassin's Creed. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, because I have so much respect for this series, because for me they could achieve, they could get the point where that's a video game, that's a fantastic video game, and in the same time it's very educational, and they are very serious about that. And it happens in various period of time over the world: American independence, French Revolution, Vikings, and everything is so well done, and you learn so much. And I believe those games should be mandatory at school, because you learn so much about history, and that's very serious, very well done.
So, what are your long-term visions for Gamestream? How do you plan to continue leading the B2B cloud gaming space?
Oh, good question. So the first is, of course, to make more revenues, and to make more, more people enjoying the services by bringing them a better content. That's our day-to-day, life and fight. And second thing is trying to get a better access to capital, risk capital, risk capital, which is not something very easy to find in France. and so we need to be successful in an Anglo-Saxon country in order to get a real interest from UK or US VC specialized in capital risk, and that's the short term, objective we have. The middle term objective would be to complete or map in Southeast Asia with a few countries where we believe that there is a huge opportunity to deploy some streaming services in South America as well, if the networks can be sufficient to provide a good experience. And that's what we are studying today. On the long term, I believe that we can provide some fantastic opportunities for developers, publishers to share their new games aside the classic platforms like Steam. And we can push experiences for the games very easily. We can push some demo for video games very easily. And if you like playing this demo, then you can purchase the game, or you can share the link of this experience to a friend. So it's very viral. Because, with cloud gaming, you don't have to install anything. So you can just click, try a game, and if you like the game, you can share it with a friend or whatever. So I think that on the long term, we need to work a lot on the viral aspect, because playing cloud gaming is so easy. Nothing to install, nothing to manage. It's just click and play.
So what does a typical day look like for you as a CEO of Gamestream, Ivan? What does your daily routine entail?
So coffee is the first thing in the morning. Coffee and banana. Then I try to practice a rower every morning during like half an hour to put my ideas in mind, and after getting the office and meeting with I would say my friends, management. Then I don't know. I try to spend time on the big topics, and my door is always open to anyone, so we can discuss anything at any time. And in my daily life, we are always discussing about new markets, new opportunities, because we are getting contacted by a lot of telecom groups over the world. A lot of telecom groups are looking for a cloud gaming service. We have a lot of opportunities coming to us all the time. So it's very interesting, because you start your day in Philippines, and you are ending your day in Denmark. So that's interesting.
So you have a tremendous amount of energy. So what is it that keeps you motivated? And I'm interested to understand perhaps who or what are your current sources of inspiration?
When you know an opportunity is there, when you know that there is a demand for your service, and when you are absolutely sure that it's about to improve your offer in order to find this profitability, this market or whatever, it becomes like an obsession. Because you know that it's just there in front of you. Most of the answers that we are looking for are just in front of us, right? Don't you agree with that? And did you ever think that the time to write a fantastic book, the time to write it is maybe a couple of days. Just by a couple of days, you can write most of the books from Shakespeare. Technically, just writing them. So you try to find the perfect inspiration where you could directly write everything perfectly. You don't need to write again anything. It's just perfect, right? And so that's my objective. My objective is trying to get all my decisions and my and everything I'm doing perfect. So everything is just always going on the right way. Like most of people.
So how do you relax? That's one thing I was going to ask, Ivan. Given that, to your point, your day may go from the Philippines to Denmark and all points in between, and you're dealing with multiple time zones, complex issues and challenges, particularly when people evolved, when capital's involved. There's lots of things for you to contend with. if it's not the rower, and I suspect that rower is about clearing your thoughts ready for the day ahead as much as anything else. But how do you unwind? How do you relax?
I relax with my friends, with my family, and with art. I love following, exhibitions, and in Paris, that's fantastic because you have some art exhibitions all the time. And I really relax with art exhibitions. It really helps.
And so, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who want to venture perhaps into the tech or gaming industry, or simply are thinking about starting their own businesses? What advice would you give to any entrepreneur out there?
The first one was, they should work in this industry before they start the project. The second one, they have to think hard about the best timing to raise capital. You can raise capital just with a PowerPoint, or when you start to be in production. Investors want to see numbers, real numbers. So that's not the same way at all. Okay. And the third one is to focus on setting up a very good management team. Very good management team. I think that's key.
And what about resources? Are there any particular books or podcasts, other resources that have been influential in your journey that you would recommend?
I didn't take the time to read so much on those topics, and so I'm sorry, I don't have any interesting ideas about that. By the way, I like the Virgin, Richard Branson. He wrote a book, a management book about Virgin, and I think it was for me it was more inspirative than the Netflix book. The Netflix book was more American oriented, where the legal and environment is so far away from what we have in France that it could not work exactly with the culture we have here. But Richard Branson for me is a source of inspiration. I know that he's under discussions and that some people don't like him, but I like his adventure.
I think you're right. I think that oftentimes we might reflect from a UK perspective because we have a shared language with the United States. That is something that binds us. But arguably, culturally, I would suggest it's about the only thing that binds us, and that we are actually far more culturally aligned, if only living kind of cheek by jowl with our French neighbours or our European neighbours. We are very much more culturally aligned and intertwined, given our histories, than we are with those across the Atlantic. And I think that's very true. So therefore, your insight as to the influence that Richard Branson has afforded you is really interesting. I find that fascinating. So what about legacy, Ivan? What impact do you hope Gamestream will continue to have on the gaming industry? And what legacy, therefore, do you wish to create through your work? What is it that you're looking to leave behind for people to admire?
Are you familiar with a Greek philosopher? How do you say Aristotle? So following Aristotle, there is this idea that human people don't really create new ideas. The new ideas are there, and they are there already. So all the future inventions are already there, but we need to find them and to bring them, and to bring them so people can enjoy and can share that. And I like this idea, and I would like the people to have the feeling that I could just achieve this. The way that streaming had to be there, to be present in your life in video games, I would like to be the one that could make it happen and to make it happen the right way. I would love to to be the one that could get this fantastic opportunity and to make it real, like a normal thing, a normal usage for everyone in the future.
That's a wonderful vision to share, and for which we might leave listeners with today. So thank you, Ivan. It's been a wonderful experience to hear more of your journey, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to share that journey with our listeners on Extrology. You've been a terrific guest, really insightful. It's a wonderful journey on which you're on, and I wish you continued success with Gamestream. For listeners perhaps who are interested to understand more about Gamestream, where should we point them? Where should they be headed to find out more?
Yeah, I will be very happy to speak with you again if you come to Paris. Please visit us, of course, and I guess we can have a very nice, maybe a dinner and visit in Paris. And thank you so much. It was a huge interview. It was maybe the best interview because you're going to the real topics. And I really apologize for my accent, and I hope that everyone could understand my words.
You've no need to apologise. It's somewhat humbling, given that I've been very grateful to have had a wonderful range of guests on the podcast, but many of whom English is not their first language. And I'm always somewhat in awe of the ability, therefore, of somebody like yourself to conduct an interview such as this in such perfect English, given it is not your first language. So thank you. It's been a wonderful experience, and I wish you every success, continued success indeed with Gamestream.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to today's Extrology podcast. I really appreciate your audience and ears. If you've enjoyed it, then why not hop onto iTunes and give us a review? I'd really appreciate anything that you might have to say. Any feedback always gratefully received, and look forward to hosting you next time. See you soon. Just a reminder, today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners. Visit www.progressotalent.com today for more information.